Meteorologist Serena Arnold, we have a storm in the Gulf that's looking like it might actually do something after a very long stretch of nothing. In fact, you have to go back to 1968 before you find another time where there was a stretch from August 13th to September 8th where there were no named storms in the Atlantic. Dr. Phil Klotzbach and the CSU team are world renowned for their hurricane forecast. They have put an update out now that talks about four primary reasons as to why we've probably seen this lack of hurricane activity. And a lot of these were discussed in my video I posted recently about what the heck happened with the hurricane season. The first one is that northern shift of the ITCZ. So the waves coming off of Africa are just too far north to align with the prime meteorological conditions. Number two, the warm temperatures up above stabilizing the atmosphere. Number three, too much shear in the Atlantic from us not transitioning to the La Nina season. And the fourth is the Madden-Julian oscillation. That one's a little bit more complicated. But here we have Tropical Storm Francine probably to become a hurricane. National Hurricane Center showing this as the projected path for Hurricane Francine making landfall early Wednesday afternoon right around along the southwestern coast of Louisiana. It's probably where the eye will make landfall. Now remember that right front quadrant is the part of the hurricane that we're most concerned about when it makes landfall, because that's where you combine the direction and the movement of the storm plus its rotation to see the highest wind speeds and the highest storm surge as well. So pay attention to where that eye is forecast to make landfall and east of there for the worst meteorological conditions. Forecast models showing pretty good agreement on its path. The biggest spread is with the GFS ensembles, just showing there's a little bit of variability here. A lot of that's going to have to do with the timing and how it correlates with the intensity of Francine, which was going to kind of like set its path as it goes along here. So we have to see how it strengthens, what direction it's moving when it does so to kind of determine its future path. This is a hard stage to forecast direction. Forecast models saying a Category 1 storm is a slam dunk, Cat 2 is even possible. And I've had a lot of questions recently about meteorological forecast model accuracy. And the good news is we're about 90% accurate out to 5 days. That drops to about 80% when you reach out to 7. And then we start getting lower than that, about 50 when we go out beyond 7 days. This shows how National Hurricane Center track errors have gotten better with time. So this is the amount of error. And here we are today and showing how these errors are getting less and less. A 72-hour forecast now is as good as a 24-hour forecast was back in the 1970s and 80s. The forecast discussion right here says Francine is going to intensify rapidly by Wednesday, making it up to Cat 2 status very quickly, but is going to be entering a high wind shear environment, which is going to cut that intensification off. It's expected to make landfall as a Category 2, and it's going to weaken rapidly once it moves over land. I will help you all keep an eye on it. If you are in the Houston area, which it's not going to be affected by this, go to spacecityweather.com for more details. They do a great job talking about these storms.